welcome to Green Engine Media. Today we are on Engineering Chronicles Student Series, Episode 1, and we have a very special guest from the School of Mechanical Engineering, a third year. And most of you would love to interact with this person, so we had the opportunity to talk to him. And we have a couple of questions that we'll be asking him today so that we get to know him and get to learn something from him. So, Mr. Aaron, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. So, you know, the reason why you're here today is that we're here to ask you a couple of interesting questions that our viewers out there, fellow engineering students, would love to hear, love to know about you. All right. So,
Sure thing.
so one of the very first questions that we have is that what's your school background? Where did you do your high school before you came here?
Sure. So my school background, but before that, I was born in Southern Province in Choma.
All right.
So I've learned and lived in Choma. I've grown up there, and then moved to Itesh just in Southern Province also. And then my high school was at Hilcrest in 2015. That's why I went from grade 8 to grade 12 in 2019.
2019. Oh, all right. Awesome stuff. So after you said Eucharist, you were at Eucharist.
Hilcrest in Livingston.
All right. How is life at Eucharist?
Well, I went there as a small child, really, and there was these grade 12s, very big guys. But then also, it was very competitive in nature. I was one of the highest in grade 7 in my high school, but then when I went to Hilcrest, I didn't even make it to the, top 30, top 50. So,
are you serious?
Yeah, it's a national school. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a national school. There's too much competition there. So you have to start working. But one thing is that the seniors told us that you leave your results at the gate when you go there. And I've learned to grow up with that, where when you enter each school, you forget about your previous achievements, even each academic year, and start afresh.
Yeah. All right. So you say in grade 7, you're one of the top 30. You weren't even one of the top 30 students.
At the Hilcrest selection list, no, I wasn't even there.
All right. What of grade 12? After, let's say, new class, were you one of those guys that was stopping the class, or maybe
definitely, yeah.
just the entire grade 12?
Yeah, definitely. I won't say much about the details, but yeah, it was pretty good in grade 12. Worked my way up, but then yeah, something like that.
All right. So okay, that's really interesting. So after that, then you came to UNZA. So how was your first year at UNZA here? How did you find it, and did UNZA meet your expectations?
My first year here, well, I had 2 gap years, first of all, and most people only have one. But I think it depends on what you prefer, what's your preference. But my first year at UNZA, I would say I'm not sure how it was. Did I have any expectations?
Yes.
I hadn't been to university before, so I'm not sure how it was. But then it was, I think, I would say pretty fair enough. Yeah, I wasn't a good student that much. I wasn't good attending all the classes. It was terrible.
But you still managed to, to do your best.
Well, yeah, I wasn't attending classes. Doesn't mean I wasn't studying. I was attending classes. First semester I was attending a lot of them I could. But second semester I started missing a few so that I could spend more time studying.
So from what you were studying and the classes that you had attended before, that was in first semester, do you think that some of the classes were irrelevant for you?
Definitely not. I think all classes are relevant, and I wouldn't advise anyone to miss classes anyways. But I think all classes were relevant. I love the math classes a lot, especially in graphing, transcendental functions and all those other functions which I didn't know from high school. So I love the math classes a lot. I think I also loved chemistry classes, and yeah.
Oh, awesome stuff. So in first year, were you programming at that time?
Yeah, very much. I started programming immediately after high school. Or I started because during high school, I had a few friends who were in a computer class, and I wasn't in a computer class. I was in a geography and algebra class. So they would code and we would play with CMD. CMD with the school had Wi-Fi, and then, well, we didn't really crack the Wi-Fi, but then there's this simple codes you could write so that you can show what Wi-Fi you've used before, and the passwords is an easy way to get password.
So you guys were hacking the Wi-Fi at school?
Oh no, we didn't hack it. It's
Some kind of hacking though.
No, not really. It's just that you just get to know this Wi-Fi password.
The password.
If you've used it before on your computer. And I think you can do that also here. But then that got me interested in programming. Then I was in grade 12. School was busy and I couldn't start programming in grade 12. So I waited until I was done with high school. And then immediately after high school, I started programming.
Programming, all right, that's awesome. So in the gap year, at that time, that's where you focus too much on programming. You learn some skills.
Yeah, very much. I had these things I wanted to do during high school, but then I couldn't do them because of school and I was doing some jets things, so I couldn't. I was occupied with jets and school. So I decided immediately after grade 12, I'm going to start programming. So I started with C++ and HTML. I think it should have been HTML because the ICT club at school was talking a lot about making a website. So HTML and CSS. And after that, I did C++ almost the whole of 2020. Yeah, I was doing C++.
Oh, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. So the third question that we have for you is that in first year, most people thought that you would do medicine, right? Because most of people thought that, oh, this guy's an intelligent guy. He gets good grades. He's very good at chemistry, or probably he's going to. Because most people didn't know that you were coding at that time.
Yeah, sure.
And people had the preconception saying that you would major into medicine. And so why did you change? Or is it that you were really interested in medicine, then all of a sudden you had to change to engineering?
Okay, it's some scandals back at home. So my mom didn't know much about engineering.
Right.
Yeah, so what she knew was medicine. And then due to some reasons I want to explain much in details.
Right.
She told me to do medicine. I didn't love it much, but then I thought maybe there's some math in medicine because I like mathematics and programming. So I thought maybe there's some math in medicine. So that's how I did my first year, enrolled in the School of Medicine. But then towards the end of the year, I had a roommate who was in second year medicine. I could see what she was studying. It was just notes and words and nothing mathematics.
You're the practical guy. You love solving math.
Yeah, sure.
Using the laptop, doing your code and all that.
Yeah,
and then you looked at the second year. The guy was just studying, cramming up notes. So that wasn't
just memorizing.
So basically, that wasn't your style of doing things.
And well, no, I think there's people who like that, but then I don't think that's for me. So towards the end of the year, I went to the assistant dean of engineering, and I asked him if I could change programs the following academic year. And he said there were too many people, it would be hard, but then I'd have to wait for results.
Right.
So results came out and I went there and there was no space. And then I had to wait for, I think more than 4 weeks.
More than 4 weeks in second year?
Yeah, so I could find space. And then finally I found it. And then I started learning, but then I was behind with some assignments and classes. I think when I enrolled, it was on a Tuesday. And then on Sunday, we had our math quiz one.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. So, did you pass that quiz?
I got 70 something. That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
So basically, you missed almost a month of lessons, and then you enrolled on a Tuesday, and on a Sunday you wrote the quiz, and then you aced it.
It wasn't an S. That's fair enough.
Basically, at least you got above 70. Some students got on average, let's say maybe 40, 80, something like that.
Well, I think it's programming. I do a lot of math also along with programming because just back in 2020, 2021, I was doing Taylor series in C++, how you can model them in, how you can find, how the calculator finds sines and cosines. So it wasn't that much.
So like the quiz had something familiar that at least, even if you studied for, let's say, maybe 4 days, plus the knowledge that you had amassed during that gap year where you were doing your programming, that was sufficient in order for you to get at least something.
Yeah, the quiz didn't have a lot of questions. I think that's how quizzes are.
Right.
And I think I could have even done better because I just made a simple mistake. I had squared a number twice, and then that's how I lost the marks. But yeah, it was fair enough.
All right, oh, that's awesome. Guys, so the fourth question we have for you is that why did you choose mechanical engineering?
Mechanical engineering. Okay, so before coming here, I hadn't heard of mechanical engineering.
Right.
I think many of us only knew civil and electrical engineering. I didn't even know agriculture and geomatical engineering existed.
Right.
So in high school, I had always thought of being an engineer, but then that was to be an electrical engineer.
Right.
And then when I was changing, I decided to find out the programs because they didn't keep on saying there's no space in this program, there's no space in this. I decided to find out about the programs, and I found out about mechanical engineering, and I knew that's what I wanted because I've always had an interest in space, in cars, in planes, and maybe someday I get to do aeronautical engineering.
Engineering.
Yeah,
Because you see, you post NASA and all that. You're really interested in that stuff, right?
Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
All right. So that's one of the things that you love.
Yeah, if it works out, But then also the goodness with mechanical engineering, from my viewpoint, I think it's one field where you can get to learn about all other fields.
Other fields. Right. Okay. So fifth question is that what is your daily routine and how is your study regimen?
Daily routine. It depends, but mostly I wake up at 6, but sometimes at 5.
At 5.
And then I have a devotion, and after that I start studying before a class, if I have a class at 9.
Right.
And then most people ask me how long I study. I'm not sure how long I study.
So it depends.
I don't know. I just study whenever I have an opportunity.
An opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. So when there's an opening, let's say maybe you're having some fun, maybe you're playing, or maybe you're just resting, and then you have the opportunity to study, let's say for 2 hours. Then how do you maximize that time? How do you make sure that you cut off distractions? Because some people complain saying, no, 2 hours is too small for me to study, and yet we have people like maybe you and others that are able to maximize that 2 hours and do something, at least something, with the tangible results at the end of the day.
Okay. So it's definitely hard to cut off distractions, I think, in this generation. And especially these previous weeks where you didn't know what time you had of class.
Right.
So you'd have to be online and wait for the class rep to tell you whether or not you're going to have class. But I froze my WhatsApp, but I still use the note. I froze my WhatsApp such that I can just use it when I want to. So when I'm online, maybe searching, because sometimes you have to study and then you have to be online, maybe read an article or download something you don't understand. So that when I'm online, my data is on, I don't get notifications.
Right. So that's one of the ways that you cut off distractions. Huh?
Oh, yeah, I also deleted Facebook, and I only get to use the website versions of the apps.
All right. So that keeps you more focused, at least, so that you don't have a time to go Facebook and all that.
Well, the time is still there because you know how the mind works, but then it's hard to access. So sometimes you get lazy to access it.
All right. Okay. I get your point. Sorry. Thank you. So the sixth question goes in tandem with the previous question I asked. So
Sure.
how refined is your time management? How refined is it?
It depends on the day. Sometimes I'd say very poor, sometimes very good. I don't think people can manage to be productive always. Sometimes we burn out. It's time where you're continuously working and then you burn out. You feel like you don't want to do anything.
All right.
You don't want to do anything in school. But on days when I'm productive, and I try to make sure it's a lot of the time, so I don't work for long hours. I give myself breaks so that I don't get worn out.
So like let's say maybe if you're studying or maybe let's say just coding maybe for 4 hours. So you have at least you allocate, let's say maybe 2 minutes, just maybe you rest, do something, listen to some songs, podcast or something like that.
Okay, well, I don't code a lot nowadays. I used to code a lot when I was in my gap years. So, and that was the plan actually, to learn as much as I could of programming so that I don't have to waste time learning it in school. So I don't code a lot. I can even pass maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks without coding, but then maybe I see an exciting problem and I get to learn more about it, try to write code about it. Yeah, and most of the time is just spent on school.
Of course.
Some interesting things.
All right. That's very good. So I think you answered this question. When did you start? When did you start programming and writing code?
Sure.
You said in high school. That was the gap year.
Yeah, during the gap
First
year.
year, you said that was grade 12.
After grade 12, I had 2 gap years, so I was programming
All
during
right.
those gap years.
So you completed school in 2019 and
Yeah,
came here in
2019.
2022.
Yeah.
So that means you had 2 years.
Yeah, that's everything. 2 gap years.
So in that 2 years, you maximized the time. You learned as much. You said you learned HTML and
Well, HTML and CSS, cause I think that was like beginner friendly. They're not really programming languages, but then they just get you used to the whole concept of writing code and syntax. Then from there I went to C++. Then it reached the point where C++ became hard on object-oriented programming. So I paused, I stopped, and then in December, I think I got interested in Java because I wanted to make an Android app.
in December of 2020.
Yeah,
Alright.
I got interested in Java because I wanted to make an Android app. And then after that, I started learning Java. So I was using my mom's old PC. Not so much of a good PC, but then it was good enough. And I started learning Java up to April. And then Java was object-oriented programming throughout. So I went back to C++. It was easy to make the shift to C++ object-oriented programming.
So at least, so Java helped you to understand object-oriented programming.
Yeah, because it's object-oriented throughout.
So which then you used to finish C++ programming.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So the ninth question I have is this question will help second years that will be watching this.
Sure.
What advice do you have for second years? Because of course you said you had to change from medicine to engineering, you missed almost a month of learning, and yet at the end of the year you scooped best second year engineering student. So what advice do you have for those that are aiming as high as you?
Well, I think second year was one of the hardest. I haven't done all the years, but then it was harder than first year. That's definite because first year was almost just a breeze through. And second year, I think it gets to be challenging. Yeah, you're no longer doing memorizing stuff. You have to know. I think there are people who can go through with memorizing, but then if you want to know the stuff, then you have to really know it. I think spend a lot of time practicing questions. Don't lie to yourself, and also there was the challenge of having to find time to study because you have like class from 14 to 18 sometimes.
And the labs.
Yeah, and labs in the morning. Sometimes the other way around. So I think especially don't waste your time on drawings. If you have an advantage, I did drawing in grade 8 and 9, so it wasn't that hard. But don't waste your time on drawings. When you're practicing drawing, don't do it the whole day. I think when you're practicing anything, even drawing, even math, try to time yourself as if you're writing an exam, so that you're becoming better and faster with each trial. And I guess just practice lots of questions. Yeah, make sure you understand the information.
All right. Thank you. So I hope second years that are watching this are able to follow us, and that's some good piece of advice from Aaron here. And so let's continue. The third question we have is why do people think that you're not helpful when it comes to quizzes, this and all that?
Sure.
No, I heard people complain, no, Aaron, you're doing this. I'm scared to approach him. Your guy won't help me. So can you please try to clarify that? Because many people that are watching this would love you to clear the air so that they can know the truth.
Okay, sure. I don't know myself. So, well, first it's against my morals. But then let's say I didn't have morals. I think also the risks are very high because you can get chased from school. I mean, yeah. And then that means your reputation, everything you worked for a long time goes down the drain, yes. But then also those people who know me know that I like helping them out. I like helping out at least where I know outside assessments.
Yes.
So yeah, as much as I can, those who approach me, and quite a good number of friends I help out. So that's where I know. And when I don't know, sometimes I also go to people and ask for help because no man is an island. Then helping out in an assessment, I think that's I had not really a friend. This guy, he was smelling like I don't know, from smoking. I
All
was
right.
saying like marijuana.
All right.
Yeah, and he had scruffy hair. It was during a quiz. He asked me for a paper and a pen, and then started troubling me for answers after asking for everything.
That was
But
a math test,
during a quiz,
a quiz.
yeah,
All
I
right.
think
That was last year,
last semester, I think.
last semester.
Yeah.
Ah,
But yeah, that kind of life, I don't know, it's against my morals. And then if I didn't have morals, the risks
risk
when
high.
you get caught are very high. And also, I think it's better to help out someone outside an assessment, and I try to do that as much as possible.
All right, right. So, guys, I hope that is very clear. I hope that's very clear. So the questions have been answered. Right. So far, the questions have been answered. So, 11th question is and this is my personal favorite. I personally put this in
Okay,
because
sure,
I also have an interest in it.
sure.
So, why do you love classical music? And what's your favorite classical music by Beethoven and Mozart?
Okay, well, I like classical music. So in first year, I had a friend, Gwen. I think she's now by Ridgeway, and she loved playing violin with her little sister.
All right.
And then,
Here in school?
yeah, here in school, when it's MTG. So I was interested in that. I was interested in seeing her. She's very good at it. She's an expert. So I wanted to learn more about it. Then, due to school, she couldn't teach me as much. But yeah, she showed me some classical pieces, and I just like the music. Just like the music. But then before that, also in high school, there's this guy, friend of mine, who used to play this music, classical music. I liked it, but I didn't know what it was. So it was only after first year when Gwen introduced it to me that I knew it's classical music.
All right.
My favorite, well, I like well, of course there's Beethoven and Mozart. Beethoven, I think the fifth, ninth symphony, and then Mozart, the 13th serenade.
All right.
But I don't also like Dmitri Shostakovich. I don't know how to pronounce that.
All right.
He's Russian, and who else? And Bach and Bach.
Bash as well. Right. Okay, that's interesting because for me at least, I got to love classical music more because of you. Because at first I used to listen to it at times at certain intervals, but after we became friends, that was last year. I started seeing you, engaging in classical music more, and it made me to start discovering these guys like Mozart and all that histories, and I started loving it. And I really love classical music at times. I listen to it, and it's really interesting. It's
Yeah, and
very
also
interesting.
an interesting one was during the same first year, I read about Mozart in a chemistry textbook. I think it's a famous chemistry textbook, the Zumda.
So,
Yeah, and it talks about how he died due to mercury poisoning. So I didn't know who Mozart. No, it wasn't Mozart. Beethoven, the one who lived in Rome. Yeah, so I went to find out more about him, and then I think that spiked the interest.
then, okay, right. Okay, I think that question is answered. So, 13.
Sure.
Wow, why do you love books? And what's one of your favorite book that you've ever read since the time you started reading books?
Mm. Why I like books? Well, I've always liked reading. Yeah, I've always liked reading and being productive. You can be productive also otherwise. I think I've mentioned my friend Gwen who likes music, playing instruments. And I think I've just always liked reading. Um, I think it's one way of talking to great people who you wouldn't be able to talk to anyhow. Let's say Donald Trump. I don't even have enough money to get a plane ticket, and let alone enough money to go and talk to him. But then if he writes a book, you can see how he talks and how he thinks. And it's like,
He's human, everything, how this
yeah,
person thinks.
yeah. So it's like you're reading and trying to connect to the author. My favorite book ever since I started reading, I think it was a book from church, The Great Controversy. Yeah, that's been one of my favorite books, The Great Controversy. But then I read business books. I think I liked Made in America by Sam Walton.
All right, that's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, that's another nice one. And my friend recommended Outliers to me. I've read that one. It was a very nice one. Yeah, and a couple of others.
All right. So when it comes, let's say, let's talk about Sam Walton's book, Made in America. So what's one of the most interesting parts that you got from the books that made you love it more and rank it there on the books that you love?
Well, first of all, he went to school. Most people say businessmen shouldn't go to school, but then he showed that those who go to school, or at least those who continue learning, are the ones who are most productive and they know how to make good decisions. And then he also emphasized teamwork. He would wake up, and also the fact that he would wake up very early at 4 and just check all his accounts by hand. Yeah, what else?
If I go with his brother and his friends,
Yeah.
to order.
Yeah, it's about to order, and I like the concept of him going through as many risks as possible and then trying to look for the best suppliers so that he can, in the end, make the prices lower for his customers. So for him, he put the customers first. He wasn't thinking of himself. Of course, we all want to make profit. He wanted to make profit also, and he made it. His children one of the richest Americans. But then he made deals with suppliers so that the customers can benefit. As such, he sold at lower prices because that was the strategy of beating the markets those days.
All right. All right. That's really interesting. That's really interesting to know. So, 14th question.
Sure.
Why do you love languages? And what's one of your favorite language apart from our local dialects and the common English that we're speaking right now?
Sure. Languages. So during the gap year, the same gap year. So like you'd code, and then I also kept a garden, but then you get bored sometimes. And I'm not a TV person. I used to be, but then due to boarding school, 5 years of boarding school, I lost most of my interest in TV.
Right.
So I used to spend most of my free time just trying to find out something, read a book, but then also reading it get hard. So I started learning languages. I started with Latin. Because Latin, I thought, the app I used was Duolingo. I don't know if you know Duolingo.
Duolingo, yes.
But yeah, Latin, I thought it's like the language of science. In fact, the plan was to learn Latin and Greek because I was studying this physics book in the gap year, and it had a lot of these Greek letters, lambda, mu, whatever. And then Latin, my mom had convinced me to go to medicine. I thought most of the names are in Latin, so why not just learn Latin? That was like one of the motivations. Right. And then my young brother started going to Hilcrest also. He was learning French. And then he started learning French because there was COVID that time.
All right.
So he started
learning French. 2020?
2021.
2021?
Yeah, I started learning French from home. And then I got interested in Chinese.
Yeah, that's one of the recent dialects that you have picked up. Are you really proficient at it? Or?
Well, with Chinese, I learned as much as I could, but then it's a big language with more than 5,000 ideologies, characters. Yeah, but then in first year, again, I was by vet. And then I had this friend I met from church. He told me, he was like introducing himself. We were introducing ourselves, your name, what program you're studying. And then he said he was studying Chinese, learning languages. So I learned quite a bit of Chinese. I could hold very limited conversation with him. And then he was impressed because that's when he was starting, and we started talking a few things. I'm not an expert in Chinese. I certainly don't have.
But at least you can.
I can understand that.
Can understand it, right?
Yeah. I still can't write the characters.
All right. I think about when it comes to languages, just knowing the simple, as in the most important part of it is really important. Because for me, I'm really interested in Japanese, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Is it because of anime?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's one of the reasons that I think Japanese is a very beautiful language and to learn, and language itself is very interesting. It's kind of similar to Chinese,
Okay.
but yeah, in the sense, maybe the way it sounds, yeah, it's a bit interesting. But for me, I think I don't want to learn everything, but just to know, the simple parts where at least I could ask, say, I'm asking for water, or
Oh, okay,
I would
sure,
love to
sure.
order this and all that. And, Duolingo helps with that
Yeah.
and other things, right? So as we wrap up this interview, our 15th question, I think I will just merge these two. So how do you find third year as compared to second year and after you have completed school? What's the plan?
Okay. Well, third year mechanical engineering. Um, well, I don't know. It's like a woman having another child after the firstborn, so you still have to go through the pain of labor in both cases. So it's like asking which of the two was more painful. And
It's
then
almost kind of the same experience.
I think maybe that would be, but yeah, it's like in both cases you get pregnant twice and you still have to give birth. So I think labor is always painful. I think that's how engineering is. And cliche has some parts of it which is challenging, and you just have to keep on working hard.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting. So, and last question: What's the plan?
Sorry, what's the plan?
What's the plan?
What's the plan? Well, the plan, maybe get work for a big company abroad. Maybe, I don't know, NASA would be hard to get to because you have to be an American citizen. But then there's still lots of other options like BMW. We can get work for Ford. I've always wanted to work for Ford.
Because of Henry Ford,
Well,
or because the prestige that the company has and reputation over
if it
past
has
century.
prestige, it just means that it has lots of experienced engineers. It's like a place where you can get to learn a lot from other engineers. Maybe for a flight company, maybe I don't know, maybe get do a master's or a PhD. I'm not sure. Even just come back here in Zambia. I think there are a lot of engineers who are successful.
All right.
Just for them.
As you said, for the love of mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. That was Engineering Chronicles student series, episode 1. Thank you very much for engaging with us, and stay tuned. Please, on Facebook, search Green Engine Media. Subscribe, follow us on YouTube, and thank you very much for engaging with us. Until next time, bye bye.
Bye bye.